Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
All right. Now, the cases aren't getting any easier. Next, we're going to talk to Alexis Page Emerson. It does take 3 times as long to do the cases with an interpreter. I tried to,
Permission to go.
yes, certainly, fit all this in. Are you Alexis Page Emerson?
Yes, Your Honor.
I met you at the time of your plea. This is another face of substance abuse addiction, alcohol addiction, bad judgment, with no clear answer. Matt Huff prepared the screening report, and he put a lot of effort into this. He said this kind of case that can suck all the energy out of you. The facts are so bad and the circumstances are so difficult. It can be demoralizing. And we deal with this every day. And we just had 3 cases we just did. And we have to make a significant effort to not get demoralized. So you're here with your lawyer, Mr. David Moore. He's been here, I think, since early on in this case. Mr. Moore, what would you like me to know?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I came into this case after the plea, and so I've been able to work with Alexis, not throughout the case, but at the tail end. Your Honor, she has had a rough upbringing as far as her childhood, her youth. 2 weeks before this incident, her sister passed under tragic circumstances. And I think that was a definite stimulus as far as what happened. As far as what has happened with Alexis since has been promising for me. She is employed. She has a great job at American Axle. She has some letters from employment, from family, and from other people in the community that know her and know more about again her character, her demeanor, and her response to this that reflect that there are positive things in her life. She has been attending Pivotal for counseling for, I guess, emotional issues, but in her past, but as well as alcohol. She has gone to at least 5 sessions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Your Honor, she just texted to me today after I was here, so I can't print anything. I'll bring it back. But she completed a 12-hour online class for it geared specifically for child endangerment. And that was a 12-hour class that she completed. So she's addressing her alcohol issues, addressing the triggers that she has for alcohol. And again, all those things are positive and favorable for her. So, Your Honor, I would ask for probation as far as a resolution for this case so she can follow through with what she started to do.
I was just handed these letters. I was aware that you were working at American Axle.
Yes, Your Honor.
I knew it from the report. I knew it when I met you, which is like the most positive thing you got going.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have a regular job, you have a decent wage, you have health insurance for your kids, but you were homeless. Have you got a place to live?
Yes, Your Honor. When we talked last hearing, I actually went and got that house with the Richmonds.
You did? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Who's living there?
Just myself. Yeah, currently.
And your children are with your sister?
Your Honor, my children were placed with their dad in Alabama until we resolve this.
All right. Did we know that, Matt?
I was under the impression there was somebody local but I must have misunderstood.
Yes, Your Honor, they were originally placed with the Hughes family in Sturgis, but they changed it because he requested to have them while we wait out the case.
He's the father of both children?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Well, now you just gotta be responsible for yourself.
Exactly.
All right, so you got a place to live, you got a good job, your children are out of this scary situation. We'll talk a little more about this. Because I didn't even completely understand how the time frame of this. As I mentioned, Mr. Huff spent a lot of time on this. We deal with a lot of damaged individuals. In fact, everybody we deal with has trauma. And we deal with lots of people with childhood trauma who are suffering the effects of that trauma as adults, often resulting in substance abuse disorders like alcohol addiction, or worse, methamphetamine or opioid addiction. Also manifests itself sometimes in behavior like theft or embezzlement or assaultive behavior. I had a young woman this morning that was charged with assaulting someone like 4 times, not the same someone, but 4 times of being assaulted. You are killing the pain, and it wasn't fair to your kids. Mr. Huff, I know you spent a lot of emotional capital on this one. What else would you like us to know?
Well, Your Honor, I would just add for the record that I did review the police footage. And it's good to revisit some of those in some of these cases too, just to get a better feel for what's going on. And I think that the court has a pretty good idea and how you've addressed Miss Emerson to date, that she has not had the easiest of life, so to speak. And so that definitely factors into my recommendation. I mean, the case facts don't get much worse than this. We got 2 callers saying that there's reckless driving going on. You've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old unrestrained in the back of the car while actively drinking alcohol at over twice the legal limit. I mean, it just doesn't get much worse than that. That being said, she is working approximately 50 hours a week, trying to take care of those 2 kids, manage what sanity she has at that given point in time, being homeless, bouncing back and forth between broken relationships, just moving to a new state. It doesn't excuse any of the bad behavior, and that's why my recommendation is fashioned the way that it is. But I think we ought to give some context or understand a little bit of the context before delivering the sentence. So I think that the positive factors outlined by her counsel, I mean, she's already taken the 12-hour child endangerment class, which is usually directed by Department of Human Health Services in order to regain custody. She's got substance abuse and mental health counseling going. She sees a great peer support mentor at Pivotal. She's working. She's now got a place to live. These are all good things. And I think that it's important that when we structure, I guess, a sentence for Miss Emerson, that we don't take away the positives that are going in her life, but also that we deal with the damage done, so to speak. I mean, very easily, those 2 children or Miss Emerson could just not be here today. That something could have happened in which their lives could have been taken, and that is unfortunately just a reality of what could have happened and what can happen if we don't get a handle on this. So my recommendation is for some jail to be revisited around work. I think work is very important for Miss Emerson to make sure that she keeps a good foundation for her and her kids when she gets them back. But I do believe that probation is really going to be the working part of this sentence, where we can make sure that Miss Emerson gets connected with all the resources she needs and make sure that she doesn't come back.
I read the report several times. We wanted to look at the video. We had some difficulty getting it. We had plenty of help from the prosecutor's office, but the file was compressed and we had to have assistance from IT to look at it. But you were quite intoxicated. As Matt mentioned, several people called this in because they were scared, afraid you were gonna hurt someone. But February the 13th was a Thursday. And this was about 12:30 at night.
In the afternoon, Your Honor.
Oh, in the afternoon, 12:20 in the afternoon. I got my, yeah, 12:20 would be 0:20. All right, I have my times upside
She works
down.
third shift.
So you were going to take your kids, that's where I got confused. You were gonna take your kids somewhere on Lutz Road to,
No, Your Honor, I got off work in American Axle in Three Rivers and I went to Sturgis, which does come across Lutz Road, to pick my kids up from the sitter. And then I was going to a friend of mine that works at Morgan and Olson, like a mile and a half from over in Sturgis where my sitter works, to ask if I can get their keys to go ahead and stay there. Cause I was not doing okay mentally. And I didn't
so
have
you
any
were
money.
gonna go with your kids to stay at this place on Lutz Road.
Back in Three Rivers.
All right,
That's where that cop, quote unquote, he was behind me, I guess, according to the report, when he wasn't. He was pulled up already at the residence when he arrested me.
and where was that residence?
It's 308 Thomas Street, right there right across from the jail. Your Honor, you know.
From the police department.
Sorry, my man.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know the area.
Constantine Street and West Michigan Avenue. Yeah, that's, all right. So what time did you get out of work?
Around 8 AM, Your Honor. I stayed over for a couple hours. I get off at 6.
So you got this drunk between 8 o'clock in the morning and noon?
Yes, Your Honor, I was not really taking care of myself on top of that. I wasn't eating, I think that's kind of what
What were you drinking?
I believe it was Bacardi, Your Honor, or Popov, something cheap.
All right. I can't remember.
Sorry,
This
Your
is the
Honor,
one
I
you said Popoff or Bacardi. So did you mix it with something or just drink it straight?
I believe I had like a Red Bull, Your Honor. I don't really remember it.
That works good because then you can be drunk and real wide awake at the same time. So you were then gonna go and stay with your kids at this apartment at Thomas Street
Yes, Your Honor.
and then sleep long enough to be
Just
ready to go back to work.
have somewhere safe where it was warm for me and my kids so I can cook something for them and be done.
Where were your kids when you were drinking this alcohol?
Well, I went to pick them up at the Sturgis and from the sitter in Sturgis, Miss Michelle and Jody Hughes. That's where they stay at
All
first.
right, so
Care.
did you do the drinking before you got there or
Yes,
after?
Your Honor.
I'm amazed that they let you take the children. And so you drove all the way from Sturgis back to Three Rivers. Were you drinking in the car?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, my. And you drove all that way without putting them in a child seat?
No, Your Honor, they were buckled up and my baby was buckled, Your Honor. It was my oldest. We have been going through it through therapy too, that they've been going to, because they've been going to child therapy since I moved here. And she knows how to unbuckle herself. And when I pulled over and the cops were there, she got scared and unbuckled. Because I looked back at my child, she was buckled, Your Honor. And I told that to the police officer too, when he questioned
And
me.
I didn't look for that in the video. He said they were both on,
They weren't, Your Honor.
all right.
And I addressed that to them too. I explained that.
As Matt said, some of what the video showed was the truth is somewhere in the middle. You were drunk, so you were interpreting things from the eyes of someone that was intoxicated. The police perhaps were abrupt, but you were polite enough and respectful enough, but it was obvious that you were intoxicated. Maybe it could have gone differently. This business about whether you wanted to take the test or not, I can't speak so much to that, but you did take the test.
I didn't refuse, Your Honor.
And that's between you and the driver license appeal division, I guess, but this is gonna be an OUIL, and so you're gonna lose your license. The charge of reckless and the charge of high blood alcohol was dismissed. I'm not sure what it was that constituted the reckless driving. I didn't listen to the 911 tapes and the people called in. Let's see what the report says about that.
I believe the quote was that there was a red Ford Focus running other vehicles off the road, was what the caller had indicated and quoted in the police report.
Yeah, there were actually two callers, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that the right case? Yeah. One guy was from Centerville and the other guy was from Finger Lake Road. And so I'm not sure where that took place. The issue is you were coming in the wrong direction. You were coming down Millard Street from 131. And you were coming from Sturgis. How'd you get out on 131?
I did not, Your Honor. I came directly from Sturgis and was headed to the apartment. Coming off the road on the railroad tracks, Your Honor. I
The
don't know
dispatch told the vehicle was driving eastbound on Millard from 131. Sir, the vehicle at the intersection of Douglas and Millard, stop at the stop sign. No, you came from 131. Then you went out to West Michigan Avenue and then they stopped you on Constantine Street. I don't know what you were doing. But there are some positives. You still have this job.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have a place to live. Your children are somewhere safe. And if you want to get them back, you've got to be in compliance with probation.
Yes, Your Honor. And I've been doing this breathalyzer like 5-6 times a day since the incident. And I've been passing it.
Who's that through?
Community corrections.
All right.
I've passed them all and I've been keeping up every Thursday reporting
All
with
right.
Mandy and Melissa.
Very good. All right. Things sometimes got to get real bad before they get worse. You just look better today. Obviously, you're taking this seriously,
Yes, Your Honor.
but you dressed nicely. You came here seriously. You looked more disheveled when I met you earlier on in the process. But there is a consequence. You would have driven all the way from Sturgis to Three Rivers with these children in the car, running people off the road, a very high blood alcohol level early in the morning on a Thursday. Where you described coming from and where the police report says you were don't exactly match, but there isn't going to rise and fall based on that. I'm going to follow Matt's recommendation. But you're going to need to comply with this probation for your own good, excuse me. And the good of your kids. I'm sure they're the most important thing in your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
How are you going to get back and forth to work?
Your Honor, I have a lot of help from work. I live 2 miles from work and thankfully I've made enough relationships at work from the union and from coworkers. They've been helping me out a lot with transportation.
I got a nice letter here from your union rep. In the early days of sobriety court, the union rep guys came from American Axle and sat through a whole sobriety court session, a whole term. they came with our first Axle guy and went through the whole program with him,
Wow, that's awesome.
not the company, the union.
Mhm.
And I was impressed. So they know what sobriety court is about and they know what treatment is about. You won't be in sobriety court, but they're supportive.
Exactly, Your Honor. I have a good support system.
All right, you're gonna need it for a while here. There's a $300 fine. Drinking, driving is expensive. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee and a $50 state minimum fee. A screening fee of $100. I'm gonna waive the attorney fee because you retained Mr. Moore. I'm gonna do 12-month probation, Matt, rather than 24. That's gonna be $480. You could actually complete it sooner than that. I want you to go to the victim impact panel, which is $32. Comply with DHS, sign a release.
I have court this Friday with that, Your Honor. I don't know if that's important.
All right. Substance abuse counseling and treatment is directed, testing as directed. 5 days jail, credit 1. They have 4 days to serve, which is going to be scheduled on the weekends. This merits it. It was very dangerous. But at this point, the hope is I have more hope for you than I had for some of the other people we talked to this morning. You got a good attitude, you got a motivation to get it together for the sake of your kids.
And for myself, Your Honor.
And for yourself. And right now you can focus on yourself. Let's add that up. 300 plus 125 plus 100 plus 480 plus $32 for the victim impact panel is 1,037. That can be reduced by 240 or so if you do this sooner. Sign a release. I guess that's it. So I will add this information to the file. There were some nice letters in there. But I'm also interested to know how you managed to keep a job at American Axle by being homeless all that time. I understand you had a less than ideal housing situation. You're trying to juggle your kids and childcare and all that goes with that. I'm glad nobody got hurt or worse in this circumstance here. All right, I want you to go with Mr. Huff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Matthew. All right, substance abuse addiction comes in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't discriminate, but it sure is pervasive.